Hey guys, sitting here with Pastor Dustin, and we were just talking about, it's crazy, you have been a youth pastor now for almost 10 years here at Living Word, and we're thinking about what we've done in the future and where things are going with the next gen.
Yep.
And you've literally, in your almost 10 years now, almost a decade that you've been doing this, you have, not only have you gotten to minister and work with a lot of different kids over the years, but you got to see them grow up, and you got to see some of these junior high, high school into college. You've still have relationships with some of these guys that are married now. Maybe you have kids.
Yep.
What are you seeing from this generation? What has your experience been like working with these kids? And where is this generation? We're looking at 2024, Gen Z. Where are they at right now?
Yeah, I mean, culturally, you see they're a very success-oriented generation. They're entrepreneurial. They're open to Jesus. Maybe not so much organized religion, but they're open to Jesus, curious about Jesus. And, within our context in the youth ministry, I see a group of people who are just really passionate about the things of God. They love prayer. They love worship. And they really love, authentic expressions of church.
Yeah.
And so they're all in on Jesus,
Yeah, and when I think about specifically ours, I think you're talking about open to Jesus. That's more the world. That's Gen Z outside of this. In our youth group, we actually, I've been in the youth ministry work with you guys for a few years now. I have really seen the passion, the hunger for Jesus. This youth group knows how to pray. They know how to worship. I remember when we did the 24 hours of prayer here at Living Word, and our youth group led it. A lot of it was student led, and I remember talking to staff members who don't work in Next Gen, surprised at how these kids could pray and they could worship. And I was just like, that's just normal. That's what we do every Sunday, every Wednesday.
Right.
Go to a youth camp. It's crazy. These kids are hungry for the Lord. They know how to pray. They know how to worship. And it's really cool to see and experience this generation, I think, more so than ever.
Yeah.
But this generation really is really hungry for Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And, like you said, I've been in youth ministry now for a couple of years.
Just a few.
And what I've noticed for a lot of students, because we're talking about the internship.
Yeah.
What I've noticed for a lot of students is once they hit their junior year of high school, their sophomore year of high school, they start thinking about the future and what they want to do with their lives. And there's kind of this current track for a lot of people, and it looks like around your sophomore year, you have to pretty much decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
When you're 15.
Which is intense. Yeah.
When you're 15, 16, you have to decide what you're going to do.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of stress. And so because of that, they feel like they have to choose quickly. And so, like you said, I've been able to see the result of that. And I've seen a lot of students, they go into college, they start pursuing their degree, they graduate from college, they enter the labor force, and they just feel like something's missing. And their career isn't as fulfilling as they thought it would be. And they're 22, 23 years old. They have all of this college debt now. And they just feel like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm called to do. And so what we want to do is we want to provide a solution to that. We want to provide an option for people where they can come to this program. They can be discipled in the Word. We can equip them, we can train them, and then we can send them. And so what I'm passionate about, is helping young people discover who God has created them to be, the gifts that He's put on the inside of them, helping them grow those giftings, and then launch out into whatever they believe God has called them to do.
Yeah, and we are talking about this internship that it has been a part of the vision campaign for Living Word for 2024. This is something that we've been working on, the two of us, just a part of this Next Gen ministry. And I do think that's important. You talk about when you're 15, 16, you don't even know who you are, and you're supposed to choose what you're supposed to do the rest of your life.
Right.
a big passion for me, and if anybody's heard me, whether I'm preaching here at Maranatha or different places, is your identity and your purpose, and what has God created you for. I love the verse, if I can read a Bible verse, if that's okay.
Of course.
Ephesians 2, 8 through 10. It's a pretty familiar verse, but it says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that is not of yourself, it is a gift from God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. For we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." So I think for that verse, a lot of us, it means we're saved by grace and not by works, which I think is great. obviously, and that's the first part. But what it's saying is after we're saved, then there are works to do. There are things that God has called us to do, and it says created us for. Like that was his original purpose, intention when he created us, is to do these things. But if we don't know that and we don't take the time to figure out what he's created us to do and what he's called us to do, then we do, even if we're doing maybe some good things, we're not doing our purpose. We're not doing what God has created us for. And so I think it's important that it's great, you're saved by grace. There's nothing you can do to earn salvation. But now that you are saved, what is God calling you to do? What does God want you to do? And so I think as we've been talking about this internship and kind of planning what we want it to look like and what we want our interns to look like and what we want them to get from this program, I think about that. Like I think about helping them discover their purpose, but then equipping them to do that. Yeah. Whatever that might be. It might be college, it might be a career, it might be in ministry or not, but we want to just prepare them for life, for whatever it is that God's called them to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of another verse. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, neither has entered the heart of man all that God has made, prepared, and keeps ready for us. And I think within that is a truth that there are things that God has predestined for us to walk in and experience. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of young people, that's the tension they experience, is they do all of these things that seem right. They go to high school, they go to college, they get a career, and then they end up feeling unfulfilled like we talked a minute ago about. And so our heart is to help people just carve out time in their life where they can really take time, seek the Lord, and discover who they are, what they're called to do, and then pursue that. And we want to give them, or we want to equip them, or maybe I'll say we want to give them the tools for them to be able to do that at a high level and actually bring change and transformation to this world that we're living in.
Yeah. And you actually did the internship back in the day when Living Word, when we first had our internship. What did that internship do for you specifically?
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about now, I mean, that was kind of my story. Was I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school, but I just knew that you have to go to college, right? Those are the rules.
That's what you do.
That's what I was told, at least. And so I went to college, and I changed my degree a number of times, and I just felt really unsatisfied. And so when I made the commitment to do the internship, I didn't really even totally understand what I was signing up for. I just felt like it was something the Lord was leading me to do. And when I made that commitment to just surrender those 2 years to the Lord, he met me in that place, and he really began to show me gifts and talents that I didn't even realize that I had. And I don't think I would have ever discovered that I had those gifts, those talents, unless I was in an environment like this where people were intentionally trying to pull those things out of me. And I think so often we settle for less than God has for us because we're too quick to define ourselves. And so as soon as we're interested in something, or as soon as we see success in an area of our lives, we just say, well, that's it. That's who I am. And the truth is, often there's just way more that God has for us than that. And so for me, it was being in this environment, having the opportunity to do lots of hands-on learning and being involved in these different ministries and different departments. That's when I really discovered that there was a call on my life to do ministry. Yeah. It's never anything that I would have planned or put together for myself. And so it was being in this environment that really launched me into, catapulted me into what I'm doing today.
Yeah, and my story is a little bit different because first of all, we didn't have the internship when I was graduated high school. Right. But the same thing, I was told you got to go to college. Yep. So that's what you do. I went to college, went to a good Christian school, ORU. It was great. I had a great time. Glad I did it. But I think it was when I came back from ORU that I got involved in the youth ministry. And Pastor Jeff was here. He was the youth pastor. And I really got involved in a small group leader, doing those things. And really, he challenged me to commit to, like, don't worry about your career right now. Like, I really, before the internship, but Jeff said, take a year to, like, dedicate to the Lord and ministry. And I didn't feel called to the ministry necessarily at that time. I got my degree in broadcast journalism. And then after that year, I, did a career in journalism and doing video and stuff. But it was that time dedicated, like you said, where I'm going to get to know God and get to know what he has for me in that season. And so for me, I was a little bit older, and we might have some people that want to do the internship that have graduated college already. And especially now we have kids graduating college at 20, 21, maybe even 19 because they're getting their associate's degree in high school. So it does look different even now than it did, you know, even when you graduated or me or even 5 years ago, maybe these opportunities weren't there. But I think that's so important to take that season of intentionality where you learn, get alone with God, learn who he created you to be. I think that's so important. I don't think enough of us do that. I think that's why you see people our age or older, maybe our parents' age, where they just graduated and you got a job because that's what you do, and you work that job and you continue to do it. And then you see, maybe it's midlife crises. You see that because you're like, wow, I've been doing this job for the last 30, 40 years. Do I even like it?
I feel so unfulfilled.
Yes, exactly. So it's so important that, especially younger people, I think we're still figuring stuff out, you know, in 30s, 40s, people older than that. But especially in that young age, I think the earlier that you can take the time and figure some of that stuff out, the better you're going to be in whatever you do after this. Right?
And that's definitely the goal of this program, is to help you discover, like we've talked about a few times, who you are, who God's created you to be, the gifts that he's put on the inside of you, and then give you opportunities to actually do these things and grow in them. And I obviously with college, you know, college isn't cheap. It's very expensive, and it continues to get more and more expensive. And so that's really I think a benefit of this program, or will be of this program, is you have this period of time where you're able to really discover what you're interested in, what you're naturally gifted in, and you're not incurring tens of thousands of dollars of debt while you're doing it.
Yes. And I'm not down on college at all. In fact, we are working on a partnership with Southeastern University. And so you can earn college credit while you're in this internship. You can take online classes, or just, you know, you can take one class if you want to just work towards it, or if you want to finish up your degree while you're here. Like I said, those that already have their associate's degree out of high school, they can then pick up the next track and keep taking classes through Southeastern University online while they're in our internship. So I'm definitely not putting down college at all. I think that's a very good option for a lot of people.
100%.
But like you said, maybe figure out some things before you put down the tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. And this is a great opportunity for you to discover some of those things and take some classes while you're doing it. You know, they have a lot of good opportunities, whether it's ministry, Bible classes, or even just like general like marketing classes. Like you can get a degree in a lot of different things through Southeastern. Like this is a legit university. This isn't just us trying to, I know a few things about finances, so let me tell you how to.
It's fully accredited.
Yeah, it is fully accredited. It's a great education that they'll get through that, and even if they don't do the college, I think they'll get some good stuff from us as well. But
100%.
But I think that's a really cool opportunity that we can potentially offer to these kids if they want to take it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
So who are you, as we're looking at this internship, who are you? Are there people kind of that you're envisioning, like maybe not specific people, but like these are the type of people that this internship would be right for? I know just in kind of my preparation and stuff, we, you know, going through like marketing avatars and looking at like, you know, this person, what do they like to do? What are they looking for? And kind of marketing to specific people. Are there specific people or, you know, that you think could really benefit from an internship like this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased. I mean, I think everybody could benefit from something like this. You know, we see trends currently. I read a statistic recently that said 75% of high school students, after they graduate high school and go to college, will leave the faith. And that's talking about students who are actively involved in their youth group before they graduate, meaning they attend regularly and they serve. Of that group of people, 75% are leaving the faith after they graduate high school. And so I think this is a really valuable opportunity to go deeper in your relationship with the Lord, shore up your theological foundations, your biblical foundations. I think this program will really help equip our students with a biblical worldview.
Well, one thing that I always say too, sorry for cutting you off,
No.
One thing that I always talk about either from the stage here or like the Bible study that I've done with the youth, with some of the youth, is it's one thing to know it, because I grew up in the church. I heard a lot of really good teaching over the years, right? But for me, it's like I want you to be so sure in the foundations of the faith,
right,
so that you can communicate it and so that you can't talk yourself out of it.
Right.
Because it's one thing to know it. Like I've heard the stories. I know what I'm supposed to do. But when life comes at you, which is probably why, that percentage is so high of 75%. And I'm not going to go into, colleges, what are they teaching or different stuff like that. But just when life hits you, is your foundation strong enough that it doesn't shake that?
Yep.
Because you get out in the real world, the quote unquote real world, and stuff comes at you and you're like, okay, well, if this, I thought it was this, but now I'm seeing things differently because life didn't turn out exactly how I thought it was going to. And I think that's what I want from the students in this internship is to, there's going to be a lot of like foundational things, but really teaching that so they know it. So again, they can communicate it with others, but also so they can't talk themselves out of it.
Yep.
That's important to me that we communicate that. The internship is going to include some spiritual development. It's going to include, preaching, prayer, Bible studies. But it's going to include like some life skills, some business skills, some entrepreneurial stuff, some creative thinking. But it's also going to do like hands-on, and yes, hands-on in the ministry, but we do so much in this building beyond just church. Yes, they'll get hands-on in a church service and preaching or worship, but they're also going to get hands-on in, we have a finance department, we have a business, marketing, we do social media, video. And I didn't do the internship like you did, but I was a part of kind of the other end when I was in the video department, where we had interns come down to us in the afternoon and we kind of got to work with them. And some of them are on staff now. So there's so many different skills and things that you can learn through this internship, whether you go into ministry or not.
Yeah.
And because not everybody's called to ministry. Like I think that's something that we get wrong. I think I'll say me. A lot of us get wrong maybe growing up in the church. Like I originally wanted to be a youth pastor because I thought coming out of high school was like, well, if I want to serve God, I have to be
in the fivefold ministry.
I got to work at a church, to serve God. When really most people aren't supposed to work in the church. Most people are supposed to go get jobs and make a difference in their field.
Right.
We've talked about that. Like if all the Christians work at the church, then who's going to work in Hollywood? Who's going to work in the government? Who's going to work at Target? Like we need Christians in that area. And then obviously your family, your friends, the people that you're close with, like life is ministry. It's not about working for a church. It's not about the fivefold ministry. It's really your life as ministry. And everywhere you go, we want you to bring your ministry, bring your supply, bring your life, bring the Jesus that's inside of you, the hope that you have into the world, into everywhere that you go.
Yep.
I'll come back to, we talked about that 24-hour prayer and that a lot of it was student-led, and I loved seeing our students worship. Again, whether it's whether it's in a church service here on a Sunday or Wednesday or at camp is an incredible experience. But that's something you're not going to get everywhere else.
Right.
It's tough to replicate, and I'm not trying to say a camp experience because you only get that at camp.
Right.
But you can, the way that God moves, the worship, the prayer, this generation is so hungry for it.
Right.
And this is an opportunity. I tell people all the time, Living Word is a praying church.
Yep.
And I'm not saying other churches aren't, but this is where I go to church. This is where I grew up. And it was founded on prayer.
Yep.
And this church has been around for over 40 years in the Twin Cities. And a big reason why is the prayer ministry that we have here and spirit-led prayer. And I just don't think you're getting that everywhere else. And so for even that, if you're like, you graduate high school and you're trying to figure out, like, I want to hear the voice of God. I want to follow his leading. I want to be more spirit-led. Like, that's something that we can do a lot of in this internship. And that's something that I want to do a lot of. It's not just about teaching and learning facts and information. I think that's one thing that honestly you've done as a youth pastor coming into, I've been on the youth staff for, a few years now, my wife and I, but seeing the way that you flow in the Holy Spirit, that comes off on the youth. Mm-hmm. And we've had my first summer camp that I went to a few years ago with you as the youth pastor. The kids that I was counseling were like so hungry for God. Like they were such good kids. Like my job was so easy. But that class, and one of them still on staff and leads worship here in the youth ministry. But I'd never seen kids that hungry, that passionate, that worshiping. Yeah. Same kind of thing. But I've seen that from under your youth ministry. I've seen the kids that have that spirit-led prayer life and that worship. And I don't think a lot of kids get that in high school.
Right.
And so to continue that out of high school, I think is huge and a big part of what I think this internship can offer that they might not get at other places.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just so core and essential, or at least it should be, to our Christian walk.
Yeah.
Our ability to hear God's voice and then respond to it. And really, that's the key to success in life. Like, regardless of what you do for a living, whether it's a secular, job, vocational pursuit, or it's something in the fivefold ministry, either way, it's important that you're able to discern God's voice and follow him, follow his leading. And so you're right. I mean, that's a huge part of Living Word. That's been a huge part of the youth ministry. It's going to be a huge part of the internship program, because we just believe that's incredibly important. It's crucial for your success in any area of life, to be able to hear what God's telling you to do and then take the step of faith and do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really excited for everything that God's going to do in and through this church in the next generation.